He's a comic who's chronically depressed and thinks we're doomed. He's a renowned climate scientist who crunched the numbers and knows we're doomed. Together, they're hoping to have a good time till it's over and tell you, we're all gonna die! We're all gonna die! We're all gonna die! Hotpocalypse.
Hey!
What's going on? Welcome to Hotpocalypse. My name's Andy.
And I'm Josh.
And we are gathered here today to celebrate our imminent demise. Things are going poorly.
Yeah. The world could end literally at any moment.
Now, Josh, I'm going to stop you right there because, a lot of people talk out their butts and say, oh, things are going poorly. It's not gonna... What makes you some sort of expert in how things are going globally?
My butt is fancy. That's why. It turns out that I work for NASA, actually. I study global warming for NASA.
Heard of it?
I gotta say, I don't speak for NASA during this podcast. I only speak for me because they really don't believe half the things that I do anyway.
I don't speak for NASA either because I'm just kind of dumb. But but we have two different processes, Josh and I, very different. Empiricist, scientific formula, very based in fact and data and reality. And I like to combine antidepressants and alcohol. So between us, we've arrived at a lot of very similar conclusions.
Mm-hmm. The chief one being, we are all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. And towards that end, we've gathered. We're gonna gather on the regular, have a drink together, and talk business.
Yeah.
What you drinking, Josh?
Cheers to the end of the world. I'm drinking coffee today with a little something in it.
Little Irish.
Yeah, a little Irish coffee. Because as we're gonna talk about later, coffee may be on the endangered species list.
Oh, that's first of all a nice tease. Very showbiz what you just did. And I'm drinking a screwdriver. Get this little bit of wordplay because we're all screwed. Oh. See what I did there?
Wow.
And I'm
those
suffering
antidepressants
from,
are really kicking in, aren't they?
Yeah,
Good
it
job.
makes me quick. And also I'm recovering from scurvy. So this should help out a lot. I'm looking forward to that. Josh, let's kick things off. Let's go through the reasons why we're screwed this week.
Yeah, well, I read a really interesting article very recently. Some scientists reanalyzed some climate data from the cradle of civilization. There was the very first empire, the Akkadian Empire, stretched along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and it turns out that the empire succumbed to climate change. So huge droughts wiped out the farming areas in the northern part of the empire, and the empire collapsed. So it's the first known instance of a human civilization collapsing because of climate change.
So you're saying with all the shit and disaster that's befalling us as a species right now, that there's been discovered just now a precedent for this?
Yes. In fact, there are many precedents. There's lots of civilizations that actually collapsed because of drought, usually because of a huge change in the climate. But it turns out that the very first civilization ever also ended the same way. And we'll just have to wait and see whether the most recent civilization does.
All right, fair enough. All right, so the Akkadian Empire.
Akkadian Empire.
Don't see a lot of Akkadians these days.
No, they're pretty rare.
And so, my first top of the week reasons why we're all screwed this week is an article from NPR. Had a terrific article about how climate funding in the age of Trump is kind of going down the shitter, and environmental studies and all the tools by which we might sort of detect the degree of our fuckedness are going by the wayside. And I wanted to ask you, Josh, as somebody who's involved in climate funding and climate resources, do you see this in your day-to-day life?
Well, we're starting to. As the shutdown drags on, more and more agencies and more science research is getting affected. I actually work at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and
heard of it.
We're technically contractors to NASA, so we're not directly federal employees. So right now we're still working, although today is a vacation day for me, if the Simpsons are watching. Yeah, but yeah, so we're still in business right now, but it depends how long it lasts. There's all kinds of science that requires the federal government to continue, and it's starting to have a big impact. Yeah.
Josh and I have been friends for a hot minute, and when Trump was elected, one of my first thoughts was, I wonder how this is going to affect people like you. I wonder how this is going to affect the NASA science and sort of the important work that you guys do. It sounds like so far not that much.
Well, NASA has continued to do climate research. We've continued to do all kinds of research. We study the Earth. A lot of people don't realize that NASA actually studies the Earth as much or more than anything else. So we do a lot of Earth science at NASA, and it's still continuing. So at NASA, we're still continuing to study global warming.
Hey, thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll be continuing to talk with Josh about all this stuff. And if you have a question for a world-renowned climate scientist or a guy who knows a bunch of dick jokes, we're both available for you to ask questions. Just ask them directly on the Being Liberal website. The Facebook page, I think, is how we're going to be responding to these.
Yeah, actually, there was one comment I'll just mention. I saw it go by a second ago. It was that the Akkadian Empire didn't fall because of human-caused climate change. Because, of course, modern-day climate change only started with the Industrial Revolution in about 1800, and this was 4,500 years ago. But of course, there were smaller kinds of climate change even then. If you deforest a whole area and change it from wilderness into farmland, it can have an effect on the climate. It's not clear that that drought was caused by that, but nevertheless, kind of the implications for us is that we're very susceptible to changes in the climate. We built our civilization on the climate we have right now, not the one we're kind of aiming for in the future.
Interesting. So a fine comment, and it kind of points out that even though that wasn't a sort of anthropomorphic climate change, it has the same effect of showing us how brittle human civilization can be in the face of these changes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We depend on a lot of stuff for the climate that exists today. One of those things, actually, is right here in my hand: coffee.
Oh,
yeah.
Segway City.
Yeah, Segway City.
A showbiz monster right here. Nice.
So coffee, it turns out, it grows in mountainous regions in the tropics, and coffee is kind of sensitive to the climate that it grows in. It turns out also that good coffee, like the more flavorful and the better it tastes, the higher the elevation. So as you go up the mountain, you get higher and higher, and you get better and better coffee. But of course, as climate change happens, then the warm areas, spread farther and farther up. You get higher temperatures and higher precipitation, both of which can wreak havoc with the coffee. And so some researchers who are studying coffee are suggesting that by 2050, there could be massive coffee shortages.
Wow. I'm kind of a researcher who studies coffee in a way.
Yeah.
I also study booze. My pancreas, the climate is changing very quickly.
Wow.
Okay, so that's I guess that's number 4 or 3 on our list is coffee. The coffee-pocalypse.
The coffee-pocalypse. That's right. Yeah.
That is foreboding. That is a reason why we're all going to die, because I will die without coffee. Another sort of thing that's portending doom for me, I guess it's number 4 on the list, is the internal fighting in the Democratic Party right now, which absolutely makes me want to throw up every time I see it. And for a resource on this, I would suggest you go to this website, twitter.com, any old time. You will see people ragging on AOC. You will see them ragging on Beto. You will see them ragging on Bernie, on Hillary. And I, for one, am fucking tired of it. And this is, I am using my slot in this countdown of reasons we're fucked this week to say, stop it. Beto and AOC are, by the way, the most attractive, literally attractive candidates we've ever seen since Kennedy. Not since Kennedy have we had a candidate that we legitimately wanted to fuck. And Beto is here for all of us to project our sexual needs on. Take the opportunity. He's a beautiful man. AOC, a very attractive and vibrant candidate. Oh, I see your comments. I see you hating on it, but you know I'm right. These are fuckable people, and we should nominate them instantly for whatever office they want. Josh, that's my number 4. Comment away. I invite you, Kate.
Yeah. Please let us know what you think of those two. I see one comment. About me looking like Elvis in the red.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of history there.
It turns out that actually I am Elvis. I'm reborn as Elvis.
Wow, we never thought you would come back in this form, Mr. Presley.
Nope. I'm a climate scientist, you guys.
Big fucking surprise to all of us.
Yeah. In fact, if you Google climate Elvis, you can see definitive proof. Climate Elvis.
Really, if people
Yeah.
Google Climate Elvis,
Yeah,
they
Google,
can find your
Google
work.
Climate Elvis, you can see, Elvis
All right.
teaching you about climate.
Good to know. Hey, Josh, let's go with number 5. Our number 5 reason why we're all going to die this week. What do we got? What's going to finish off?
As we look to the north, there's some interesting stuff going on. A study was published.
Santa.
Just last week. Santa's going to be upset because it turns out that Greenland is actually releasing methane into the atmosphere.
When I release methane, we call that farting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
Greenland
right.
is farting.
Greenland is letting out big hairy ones into the atmosphere. It turns out that these little microbes that live underneath the ice chew away at ancient plants and things like that, and as they do, they produce methane. Now, we knew methane was produced from all kinds of other things, like the tundra melting and stuff like that during climate change.
It's released in fracking.
Yes. But of course, but this is sort of new. This idea that actually the ice might also be holding back a bunch of methane. And that's bad because methane is an incredibly powerful greenhouse gas. It's like 10 times or something, I forget the exact number, as powerful as carbon dioxide. So it has the potential to cause a whole lot of warming really, really quickly if these Greenland farts continue into the future.
You know, Josh, along those lines, I'm sort of a Greenland expert. Not a lot of people. Yeah.
Wow.
Let me give you an example.
Regale us.
Well, Greenland, you see, is very icy, where Iceland is very green. You want to write this down?
Yeah.
Write all this stuff down. I'm dropping pearls of wisdom.
Yeah,
Josh,
I'm going to get this right here.
You're talking a lot out your ass about Greenland. What the fuck do you know about Greenland?
Well, it turns out that I study Greenland for the government. Again, these are all my own opinions. This is not NASA's opinion officially. Well, it is their opinion that I study NASA, I guess. That's true.
That's on your paycheck.
That's definitely there, yeah. But no, I study Greenland for NASA. I am the lead scientist for a mission called Oceans Melting Greenland, or OMG for short.
Very clever.
Thank you very much. I spent hours and hours coming up with that acronym. And what we do is we fly airplanes around in Greenland and we measure the oceans and we measure the ice. And we're trying to answer the question, how much are the oceans eating away at the ice around the edges of Greenland?
Wow.
Yeah.
And what are your results so far?
Well, it is. So the ocean is, yeah, it is.
That's a sort of clean yes or no answer that I think science should be providing us with. Okay, are we screwed? Yes.
Yes. So it turns out that the oceans are really playing an important role. You know, we think of Greenland kind of like an ice cube under a hairdryer. You know, the atmosphere is getting warm. That's how I make my martinis at home. But Greenland actually is also melting from below because a lot of the ice runs off the land right into the ocean. And so as the ocean warms, the ocean water can literally eat away at the ice from the edges. The glaciers then speed up and they dump more and more ice into the oceans, and it causes sea level rise to go even faster.
Wow. Yeah. In a few minutes here, we're going to get to the heart of our episode, in the sense that we're going to talk to you about where to go in case of climate disaster. So in case of climate disaster, with all these bad things happening, you're going to want a spot to be safe and finish your drink when climate disaster hits. We're going to go through some possible locations and some possible advice for you to fulfill that. But Josh, let me ask you one thing along the lines of what you were just saying. It seems to me, as a guy who has internet access, which is really my only qualifying resume item here,
it's very important.
It is very important. It seems to me that a lot of the times the estimates that we see are on the conservative side, and that we're seeing them play out on the more extravagant, disastrous side as we go. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, scientists are cautious by our nature, and we tend to be conservative. So we don't like to say things. Part of the reason it's so hard to get a scientist to say something is because we don't like to say it unless we're really, 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 really sure. And that means that a whole lot of scientists have to see data and calculations that all point in the same direction and tell us the same thing. So the consensus view of scientists, which is what moves science forward, tends to be kind of conservative. You know, we're seeing this change start up after the Industrial Revolution, and it's definitely happening fast. and the science is almost struggling to keep up with it. That's how fast it's happening.
We're so fucked that there's not even the numbers to describe it at times.
Exactly.
That's my interpretation.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, just recently, new results, it seems like every week, new results come out about, for example, the ice sheets, like Greenland, like what I study, also Antarctica, that show that the ice is melting faster than we predicted, faster than we thought it was going to melt, faster in some cases than we even imagined it could melt. And so every time we kind of make a new discovery, we're kind of finding out that it's worse than we thought.
Whee!
Yay!
Hey, we're going to be right back. We're going to talk about some places where you should live in case of this imminent climate apocalypse, some options for you. But we're going to hear a word from our sponsor first. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
The Koch brothers are proud makers of Angel Soft toilet paper. When you use Angel Soft, you help the Kochs achieve their dreams of wiping away regulations like environmental laws, workplace safety laws, and child labor laws. So buy Angel Soft and let's put babies back to work. Because honestly, all they do right now is sit around and shit themselves. That's the spirit, guys. Now back to the toilet mines. Fly, my pretties! Angel Soft and the Koch brothers. Now you can literally wipe your ass with the future of your children.
You know what's really important in real estate? This is a little tip that I got. A little tip for real estate: location, location, location. That's what's important in real estate.
What was the middle one again?
It's location.
Got it.
So, in times of climate apocalypse and dynamic climate systems, you're going to want to know where to go. You're going to need info from somebody like Dr. Josh Willis. Josh, what do you think?
Well, I am no real estate agent, that's for sure. But if I was trying to pick a place to live, knowing that the climate apocalypse is upon us, I probably wouldn't want to live somewhere like really, really like right close to the ocean. I would get a little bit farther away from the ocean than like right on top of the ocean.
Okay. This in face of a climbing ocean, rising sea levels, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of a place that I really like. I love that area, Marina Del Rey.
Marina Del Rey, yeah.
They named Lana Del Rey after it for a reason. It's a beautiful spot.
Yes. It's a marina, right?
Let's take a look at that. There's a great little property that we're looking at there, right?
Yeah. There's a neat property right here in the very north end of the marina. It's just $479,000.
Ocean view for under $500,000. That's like a minor miracle in Los Angeles.
It's pocket change, right? I mean, it's unbelievable, right? 935 square feet. One bedroom, one bath. Not a giant place, but
not a giant, but something you could work with and make work with your lifestyle.
So let's see where it is. It's sort of right here on the very north end of the marina. Now, it turns out there's this other website that you can go to. Called Climate Central. They're they do climate research.
That name seems a little on the nose.
Climate Central. And they have this risk map. It's called the Surging Seas Risk Map. You can see it right here. And what it does is shows you places and how at risk they are from sea level rise. And so right now I've got it set to 4 feet, but you can crank it back down and see this is kind of 1 foot above modern day sea level rise. And of course we get regular tides and things that are that high. But in the coming decades, we expect 3 feet of sea level rise kind of no matter what. We're probably going to get 3 more feet maybe by 2050 or so.
Wow.
And you can see that the blue areas here are places that are flooded. And now this house might be just out of the flood zone. Of course, the marina is all flooded. Right? But the problem here is that all this green area, these are places that are trapped. So,
so
they
you're
can't
kind of
get
an
out.
island all of a
That's
sudden.
right. That's right. So all these burners from Venice are going to come into your living room, which is you only have a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. You can't have that many burners.
So, Josh, you're saying that there's a refugee crisis brewing, that all these people, even if your house is unaffected, you're going to have people like for example, fucking shitty hippies from Venice coming and wanting...
Spilling their bong water.
Patchouli everywhere. You're not going to want that in your car opening. So that's going to lower your real estate values right there.
Definitely.
Okay, well, it looks like Marina Del Rey, there's positives. A marina probably should have some water in it.
I mean, if you're there, you probably have a boat.
You probably have a boat. Right. That's a good move, given this sea level rise. Okay, so it's sort of a mixed bag we're looking at here in Marina Del Rey. All right, fair enough. And an amazing tool, by the way, this Climate Central.
This Climate Central site, the guy that runs it is a guy named Ben Strauss, and he's a great climate scientist, done a lot of really interesting work, and he's kind of doing that work that most of the scientists haven't really done, which is, how is this going to affect me?
Yeah,
right?
important stuff, right?
That's a big
and it's a fun website. You can go on and just flood the houses of like ex-lovers and bosses.
Right, you can just crank up the sea level rise
screw
here.
you, old Dean
all
McCarthy.
The way to 10 feet,
Wouldn't let me graduate. Taste the seawater. Okay, great. So let's take a look at another one here. We got another house choice, huh?
Right. I pulled up a property here in Seattle.
Beautiful.
Let's just go to the top, all the way to the top of the West Coast, and see if we can escape climate change.
Okay, I want to warn you, I'm not going to spend a cent over $33.8 million.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Because this house is 4 bedrooms and 3.5 baths, and it's only $3.7 million.
Ooh, roomy.
Right?
I like it.
Yeah. Nice. It is rather close to the water, though.
Huh.
Right? Let's take a look at exactly where it is. Oh no, I killed it. Never mind. Sorry. It's close to the water. It's sort of up here.
And this is all the Puget Sound area around Seattle.
That's right. So this is
very highly populated.
Yes,
beautiful,
very highly
upscale
populated
area.
Absolutely.
I've been. I was doing drugs with a bunch of grunge bands.
Oh, awesome! They have great coffee. Great coffee. So this place is sort of right along here somewhere, and it's actually potentially going to get hosed by sea level rise if sea level gets high enough, because there are some low-lying areas right around the edge of the Seattle metropolitan area that are really potentially threatened by sea level rise. Now, I've dialed in 9 feet of sea level rise here, and 9 feet of global sea level rise is probably pretty far out in the future. Maybe by 2100 we'll have that much. But of course, it's not just the global sea level rise that matters. It's every storm, it's every high tide, and every other thing that can raise sea level on top of the global mean, right? So if you get 6 feet of sea level rise and you have a 3-foot tide, all of a sudden, all these areas could flood.
And that's what freaks me out when we start talking about this stuff is the knock-on effects. How you raise temperature in the area, your sea level rise changes, but you're also getting this influx of ticks or whatever the hell else is happening.
That's exactly right. Of course, it's not just sea level rise that's happening, right? The whole climate is changing. So you get invasive species, you get changes in the patterns of rainfall, and of course temperatures. In places like Colorado, they're experiencing more and more deforestation or harder impacts on the forests because these certain beetles that eat the bark usually die off in the winter. But as the winter temperatures have gotten warmer and warmer and warmer, then the bark beetles aren't dying off. They get to have like 2 sets of offspring, and there's so many of them that they're actually causing huge amounts of destruction. So the critters all know climate change is happening, and they're already aware, and they're already taking advantage. But we seem to be the only ones that aren't quite there yet.
It's probably the reason my dog's dying. All these critters know.
So
our dog is dying. All these critters know that something is up. Well, that's okay. So I think we should move on from the Seattle area. Let's keep looking.
Let's check out the Midwest. So I pulled up some real estate in the Midwest, but what I kind of want to remind people of course, the Great Lakes, right, are there.
They're truly great.
They're very great. They're not going to have a bunch of sea level rise probably. Their level is set by the amount of water that comes to the atmosphere and rains down and drains out and so forth. But
so you're saying those are probably pretty safe water reserves.
Water, and yes, the water is probably not going to change too much. But what's interesting is, and I pulled this other image from the. This is actually Not the mushroom clouds. I added that, but this is actually from the U.S. EPA website. Formerly, it has since been taken down, but the city of Chicago actually and a few other places have sort of rescued this content about climate change that the EPA has had for many years. It actually was a fantastic resource for learning about global warming and climate change, but of course now a lot of it's been taken down. But this particular picture is neat because it reminds people that the Midwest is going to get hotter. So here's Illinois, and depending on how much global warming we have, by mid-century, it'll be more like living in Louisiana, and maybe by the end of the century, it could be like living in Texas. Wow. So, just imagine if you lived in Chicago and suddenly you were transported to Texas.
I would kill myself immediately. I'm kidding, Texans. You're fine. You're
Love you.
Texan.
I grew up in Texas, but
fine people. But no, that is a different climate, and for all the drinking we do in Chicago, you're going to have to hydrate, folks. That's what we're saying. It's going to be a totally different environment.
Stay hydrated no matter what.
So that's a terrifying map in a lot of ways, and this used to be on the EPA site, but it's been taken down.
That's right. That's right. A whole lot of the climate information has been removed. There's pretty good efforts to archive a lot of it, so a lot of it still exists out there. But yeah, a lot of it's gone. Yeah. So
let's. I think we're going to take a look at some questions here as we talk here. But
yeah.
But
yes.
Chicago is definitely a spot. Like I came up in Chicago, great town. How's it going to fare come all this climate change?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again. I wasn't listening to you.
There's a lot of tech happening
yes.
right now. I'm a Chicago, and I love it there. What's going to happen?
What's going to happen to Chicago? Well, it's going to get warmer, for one thing. That's obvious, right? Winters are going to get shorter. But in fact, in some ways, actually, it could be more violent winters because the jet stream, which is this big wind that carries winter storms all the way around the northern part of the planet, sort of like the world's yarmulke.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
People.
Right. It's weakening because the Arctic is actually warming up faster, and so as the temperature in the Arctic gets really warm, then the jet stream can meander, and it brings these big storms out of the north that dump huge amounts of snow in Chicago and all along the eastern seaboard. So it actually could not only get warmer, but there could be worse winter storms too. So you're cooking in the summer and you're still getting hosed in the winter.
And that's such a great point. Next time some dummy says to you, how can there be climate change? It's so darn cold out. We're probably going to see a lot of that in Chicago, which can't afford A, more violent winters, or B, more violent anything. It's kind of a rough spot sometimes. Let's keep going. If Chicago's off the map, what else we got? And do we have any questions that folks want to address?
Oh,
here?
yeah. Actually, there's a question here from Susan. What can a mere citizen do to prevent climate change, and what laws do I need to vote for?
Good question. Susan, I think there's a lot of policy prescriptions that we could get into, but as far as what you can do, how would you talk about that?
Well, I tell people this all the time. Look, voting is just as important or even more important than driving a Prius or planting a tree or reducing your electric bill or buying solar panels. All those things matter. Look, it's a global problem. We have to do everything we can. But we also have to have policies that push us toward renewable energy and away from fossil fuels. And I'm a realist. Those can be all kinds of things. Tax-based policies, incentives, funding research that develops new energy resources, taking subsidies away from older fuel sources. All of those things are stuff that we should consider and are probably ultimately going to be necessary.
Hey, let me. That's a really wonderful answer to that. Let me answer it in a little more controversial way, and you can feel free to slap me down as a more knowledgeable person here. From what I have read and understood, I kind of feel like recycling, and I drive a Prius, we recycle, we're getting solar panels, we use cloth diapers. I kind of feel like all that stuff's bullshit. And I feel like that it's...
I'm going to have to slap you down, Andy.
I feel like it's an attempt by corporate America and sort of the political industrial complex to pass off what's the real responsibility lies, which is with these large institutions, to create the change that, as consumers, we're really spinning our wheels when we try and do it ourselves.
Yeah, look, I mean, I would say that you're right in the sense that the responsibility should come upstream of the consumer. I think we still have to do it.
Okay.
You know, it still helps. It's still important. The more we as consumers signal that we want that kind of product, the kinds that don't pollute the ocean, that don't use fossil fuels, the better it is. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you know, we have to be able to prescribe that companies don't build things unless they are renewable and sustainable. You know, we have to build some sustainability in at the sort of corporate level.
And I can't regulate these larger companies, and I can't tell, you know, Dow Chemical to behave themselves, but the federal government can.
Yeah, they can.
So when we institute those changes to the federal and state government, then we have a shot.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And local governments, you know, your local. Your city council and your state and county governments, they're actually all very active and do as much or more today as the federal government does. So you know, it's not just Washington D.C. where you need to make a difference.
I'm gonna kiss you. Oh, it's going to get weird. It's too much of this. Too much of this. That's what this is. Okay, so let's go. I think we've got one more spot we were going to hit.
Okay, yes.
In our Zillow tour.
Yes, it was Hotlanta.
I think we're going to Hotlanta.
Yeah, Hotlanta.
By the way, I've been to Atlanta. I've toured there. Don't say Hotlanta. They
don't say they don't like it.
They get so mad when you say Atlanta.
It's too bad because it's going to get hotter,
Ooh,
right?
Bitter irony.
But Atlanta's in this kind of funny place because of its situation. It's far enough from the ocean that it's not really going to be impacted by sea level rise very strongly. But it's not quite far enough inland that it's probably going to suffer like the worst of the droughts.
Interesting.
Right? So it's kind of a little bit in a sweet spot, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. First, you get a show by Donald Glover, and now you get saved from the worst elements of climate change. Atlanta, you're doing all right.
Have a Coke and a smile and call it a day.
Have you seen that show, Atlanta?
No.
You guys should watch that show. Very funny.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, we give a lot of tips about climate and science and apocalypse, but we also talk about primetime programming.
That's right.
Okay, so it seems like of this group, Seattle, and this is very unexpected to me, Atlanta's kind of the winner of that group.
It kind of is, yeah. It's maybe not the worst place.
And I also along those lines, I was just in Chicago and I was just in Michigan. Those motherfuckers there are very protective of the Great Lakes at this point.
Oh,
as well they should be.
Yeah,
as well they should be, because we'll want to build a pipeline out west at some point.
Right.
For all your water.
Exactly.
Well, I think we made a discovery here about real estate. I'm really surprised by Atlanta as being one of the more potentially tolerable cities.
Yeah, it's kind of in a sweet spot. I mean, I think there's still because it's such a huge population center, there's still troubles with water availability, but it's probably not, further into the Great Plains, further west and further north, they're probably going to have worse problems with drought than Atlanta.
Great. Well, not it's great that you said that, but we face a shitty situation. Hey, this has really been very illuminating, Josh.
Yeah,
I want to thank you.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
I've also got much more of a buzz than I did when we started. So cheers.
Congratulations. And here's to the end of the world.
And while the sun is still shining. Folks, we are going to be doing this again and again, and we want you to join us. We want you to have drinks with us when we do this. We might have a question more, two or more, before we sign off here. I'm sorry, my producer is saying...
Oh, the page. The page,
Oh,
yes.
You guys, we got to talk about the page.
Right, the page.
So come to our page. We're Hotpocalypse is what we're called. And Josh and I will be on there periodically answering questions, and we invite you to leave more questions. The ones we didn't get to today, which are many, because we are figuring this shit out, but we're going to get to a bunch of them next week. And we want you to join us. We want you to drink with us.
Yes.
And ask questions and be involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. Come see us.
Yeah. Fuck the police. That's just me improvising. Hey, thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to doing this with you again. We're all going to die. Thank you very much.
All right. Don't die in between.
Cheers. Let's chug.